I'll say hello and welcome to everybody for Blabbing Business, this May edition. And if you are joining us in replay, we hope you enjoy. As usual, we talk about every month we get together and talk about business questions relating to sales, social media, and marketing, and try to tackle any kind of problems that you might be having. And if you have any questions, feel free to type them in live into the live chat comment portion, and we will tackle those and we'll toss around some ideas. With me, Sean Sandy from the Selling Agency and Jana Harbison from J. Harbison Communications. And just we are all women business owners here in the Memphis area dealing with businesses from all over. So I just gotten finished, Jana, telling Sean that I am fairly unprepared today. Unfortunately, my apologies.
All right.
But have y'all had any good questions come in that you've had to tackle recently?
Well, questions you mean are just like kind of issues we're dealing with?
Any and all of the above.
Well, we've been, luckily and fortunately, we've got, looks like 2 events that we're going to be dealing with for the next few months. And I'm kind of balancing the job of promoting an event but not doing all the event planning. That's one of the things, you know, when we help promote and do public relations for clients that are event based, it's, you know, it's on the front end, it's always good, you know, to make that line really clear, whether you are going to plan their event from start to finish or whether you're going to help advise them on their planning. So that's what I'm kind of in the process of this week.
Do you find that clients get it confused, like they don't really know what they want?
I mean, it depends. I think, you know, you just have to really sit down and go step by step with them. I think one in particular is really more focused on the promotion of the event, and one knows they need help with the actual event, but I'm getting ready to gauge that to find out how much, because it's, you know, event planning, as I have found in working in, you know, previous years and other roles, is so time consuming, and you want to take that away somewhat, you know, from your client and be able to advise them on it and give them a checklist per se. But there's also a fine line between, you know, executing all of that, which is a whole different animal. So it's something that I'm navigating as we go this week. So we'll stay tuned, but hopefully we can get that all ironed out. What are y'all's thoughts?
Well, I think it's funny you say that, because we had something similar, kind of similar happen. Many times I think people either don't necessarily listen, or they hear what they want to hear. They mean, oh, thank God they're here to help. And, you know, we launched an audience development series for a small business this past week. And it includes, you know, what's your messaging, what's your strategy. There's a process for them to feed us pictures and information. And so what the client heard in his brain was, oh, good, you're here to help. So he asked Selena.
Labor.
Oh yeah, he said, hey, I've got a table at the golf at the community, the chamber golf event. You want to help me work it? And she's like, no, that's not what I'm here for.
No, but I'll tell you the best way you can work it.
Exactly. So I think it's really funny that we have to be really careful. And I think you may have found this, Jana, you may have found this, Lisa, that the learning curve as a consultant of understanding that you may think that you explain this clearly, it's documented clearly, you have a scope, you have a contract and a proposal, and you may think that this is crystal clear, but what your client hears sometimes is totally different.
Well, and I would, you know, so what I'm hearing advice-wise, clients to prepare for something like this need to sit down, write down their thoughts, have a checklist, and they need to listen to their advisor. And as an advisor on that side, put everything in writing. You know, I mean, I think that works for both sides when you have everything in writing and something to reflect back on.
Yeah, everything in writing. And a lot of times we'll give them really specific examples. We'll say, okay, this is what this means. So this is, you know, this is an example of what that looks like through, you know, executed through your contract. and really paint a really literal picture for them and talk about what those action items are so they can see it. And I see that more with smaller business owners who wear all the hats because they're thinking, again, they're just thinking, oh God, I'm making the leap to hire a consultant or a strategist or whoever to help me. You're sort of like the savior. That's all they see. They think, okay, great, you take all my problems away. Yeah.
Right. And I find that you have kind of two opposite ends here. Sometimes you have that person who is, okay, I've handed it off. They're doing everything now. I don't need to touch it, have anything to do with it. And then you have the other person who, as a client, will hire you and thinks, okay, it's all being taken care of, but I still need to be doing and overlooking so much that they almost try to manage too much, but the communication is broken down. So things don't happen as effectively and efficiently as they could. Again, communication.
It is. And I think, like Sean said, it's important, I think, to have a checklist of what you're going to do. And it's important to give them a checklist of what they can do. And best practices kind of thing. And then, because I remember at a former firm years ago in Nashville, we handled a golf tournament for a client. And initially, we were going to do the promotion. We were going to help them. And it just kind of skyrocketed into everything. And we were literally on site the day of handling everything from start to finish. It is stressful. And, in those situations, you tell the client, number one, make sure you have manpower ahead of time. Make sure you plan for that. Volunteers, hopefully, especially if it's like a nonprofit, you hope that they'll have board members or volunteers who can be there on the ground to help execute.
Yeah.
And checklists are real important. It's so funny. One of the events we did on a smaller scale, they did the execution, but one of the biggest things they forgot seemed so simple, but it was trash cans. And it was, there was food served. And it was such a crazy,
wow.
The smallest things with events can have such a big impact sometimes. So you want to make sure and help them plan, but let them know that either their staff, or their volunteers will be on the ground. And then you'll get the word out and get everybody there. So.
And absolutely. And I have been, unfortunately, involved with some nonprofits that will plan, and they have a list of volunteers, and they have people show up, but the planning and how to use those volunteers fell through the cracks. And so you have volunteers who show up, they're willing to work, but nobody can tell them what they need to be doing. And I think that is a disservice to the organizers. They need to be able to specifically plan how to use those volunteers, and to the volunteers who are willing to give their time, but there's nobody to lead them. And you turn people off that way.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to have a good plan. And I don't even mind, necessarily being there that day to help kind of, tell people where to go, what to do, or at least, kind of be there as a person to lead if necessary, that effort. But I did an event at the state of Tennessee, I don't want to say how many years ago, but I had to organize volunteers from all over the state for this thing and tell them. And we started months ahead planning checklists of what they wanted to do and the times and everything. And that's something I feel like now as, public relations professionals, we're also internal communication professionals, hopefully, so we can help them do that and, tell them that you've got to plan months out. And you have to be specific, like you said, especially with volunteers, because they'll be running around like chickens with their heads cut off the side sometimes. So I agree. Anyway.
Sean, do you have anything to add on the process and the planning?
No, it's I guess I do. It's interesting because as when I came on board to NAWBO, the National Association of Women Business Owners, the Memphis chapter, I came on board as the programming director, and then learned that that meant events, which it takes on a whole other thing. And I said, okay, here's what you need to understand. I'm strategic, high level, big vision. I can document processes and strategies, but I'm not the person. I do not like to connect all the T's, the I's, the dots, all that kind of crap. That's just not me. So I need some help in this area. And so it happens often with nonprofits. You don't have that help in those areas.
Right.
So, we would be planning events, and we moved venues this year, which made things interesting and fun. But I would not think about, okay, well, I need to instruct that waiter and the wait staff to make sure that the food comes out at this time. In order to expedite this, we need to set the water on the table first. And so I've never been a server. I was fired from a server. I was a horrible server because I didn't care about the details. So we brought on board the woman who works for me, Selena, to be the logistics coordinator for programs and events. So she has a background in corporate catering. She worked for Airmark and Sodexo. She ran the Michigan State cafeteria system. Sister gets stuff done.
Yeah, there you go.
So she makes sure that, she coordinates the restaurant and all that kind of stuff. But what happened was when we had the event in April and we showed up there, the person who did the check-in assumed that Selena was going to handle it because she's over the events now. Well, no, she's doing logistics. So it was just sort of, you have to really make sure with your volunteers that you know exactly what it is they're going to do, that they're serving to the capacity that they're best at, and make sure that it's very clear what the scope of what they're going to do is. So we have all that hammered out now, but it was just interesting. I never said anything about her checking people in, but the person who was supposed to check people in just assumed that she was going to check in people now because she. So anyway, it's just interesting.
Yeah, It can get hairy. So you plan, and details.
Learn.
Right. Well, and that, a lot of times that goes back, and this could be applied to really any business, and customer experience is such a hot topic these days, but there's such value in putting yourself in your customer's shoes and thinking through it or walking through it, whatever the experience is going to be that day, that lifetime of that relationship, whatever, and think about how every little thing is going to happen. But it's good if you're not that person to worry about the finite and the detailed things, because we all have different gift sets for sure. Acknowledge that and get help. I think that worst thing you could do is know that you have a skill set that might not be best at that type thing, but try to do it anyway and not acknowledge it. And
Okay. Well, and it comes into play with the too. Y'all hear me?
Yes. You're good.
There's a ghost in my ear. Anyway, okay, it's gone now. No, what I was saying though is, a lot of us that, especially with events or special events or projects, work by the hour on things. That can add up if we're doing all the logistics on the ground. Let us do, like you said, Lisa, what we hopefully know how to do, what to do best, and get people to handle the ABCs. Because if you want us to handle the whole thing, that's going to hike it up a little bit, to say the least. So, which is fine, but I mean, it's, I'm with you, Sean. I mean, I can serve a plate, but I can really come up with a good list for events. I feel like, because I've done it before. But I go nuts if I try to execute all of that on the day of. I'm rather like, let me make sure the media is happy, whatnot. So, but yeah, it just depends. But it's always good to be very specific on the front end.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, that was one thing, and the other thing, I just want to throw this out there and see if y'all dealt with lately along these lines. And any updated ideas, but making sure people understand their events or in general to have a marketing budget when they plan an event or plan a business. So we've dealt with that a little bit lately of the lack of
lack of budget, or the fact that they didn't know whether they had a budget, or
lack of planning for a budget, for a marketing budget, when you're really undertaking a big project or having, somebody come in and really get the word out there, or doing marketing, without a budget. And people relying solely on PR, which is great, but, it's tricky.
Well,
and among other things. So.
it's like which came first, the chicken or the egg. You know, if you don't have any money, it's hard to put together a budget. But how are you going to increase cash flow if you don't dedicate in sales? If you don't dedicate, time, resources, and money to attracting your audience and building new sales and communicating with them. So I think that any new business launching or any business that doesn't have that is short-sighted, and their success will be short-lived. It's a very painful point when people, they get up running and there's excitement opening their business, and maybe they open a business with some existing customer base in mind. And then if you don't feed that pipeline, if you don't market, promote, and sell, there comes a point where your new stuff, you just dry up because costs do nothing but go up. No matter how long you've had your business, costs do nothing but go up. And if you're not adding people to your pipeline and increasing sales projections through marketing and selling, you're not going to be in business.
I started to say the keyboard is projections, and to continue doing the financial projections for the business, and have an idea of where you're going and how you're going to get there.
Yeah, and planning ahead for, do some capital upstart, and ironically, one of the events we're doing is somebody who's trying to advise people on that, if you're a startup or a new business, and what you need, and not just the first 6 months, but the first few years, and resources to get that, because, you can't just start from scratch and want to be in the black and not, think everybody's going to come through your door or call you for business, without really planning on that, because you gotta get to them, and you can't always do that with earned media. So even though some people promise that, but it's all encompassing, and they need to feed off of each other. So, but people need to really make sure that they've got that capital to invest in marketing on the front end. I would always advise.
Yeah, because the paid media is, you're just not going to get it all for free these days.
Nothing is free.
So. It's not even, even earned media is not even as effective as what it used to be. So it's about the mix, right? So Gianna, I have a question for you, and Lisa too.
Yes,
so I had an experience last week, and I was telling Lisa, I wrote about it on the blog because I'm always writing about the buyer experience through, after the fact, and what the sellers can do to improve. So I'm evaluating some inside sales teams, inside sales companies for one of my clients. We're going to do an inside-outside model as we build their sales program. And so the title of this was, "Even the Pros Mess This Up." So it was amazing. These are professionals in the profession of selling, and they missed out on the basics. They missed out on the foundation, doing the research, knowing who they were calling, why they were calling, and what value they had to offer, and why, to keep me on the phone and listen. I thought, obviously I crossed those companies off my list. There were a couple of good ones, but and it's interesting because, now when you want information from a company, you go on their website, especially if it's a technology-based or platform-based company, and you put your name in and the number of employees and your website and your phone number, and, you get a call very quickly. Well, because I'm evaluating inside sales, I didn't answer the phone call. I waited to see what their follow-up process was.
That's great.
It was so telling. I got I looked at your website, Mr. Sandy, and you have a very interesting business model. Did you look at my
website, Mr. Sandy?
Exactly. Yes. If you look at my website,
that's awesome.
This video.
You might want to know your customer before you call them.
Exactly. Exactly. So between that,
my brain goes in so many different politically incorrect ways that I'm just gonna. Right now. But it's clear that they didn't do what they said.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you let them know that, I've been on you better have been on it and up and down and all through, especially to know exactly who you're talking to and selling to. That's what's so crazy. Yeah, that drives me crazy. I've had that happen, and I'm like, it bothers me at the very basic level when I am a customer of somebody's, an ongoing customer and I continue to have to give them my name, my information, I'm like, come on, guys, you either save it or keep it on record or something. That's just basic sales and basic customer retention.
It is. So I thought it was really amazing that even, companies that want you to give them their business to sell for you fall down at the basics. So I said, my question is, in sales, before you make a sales call, the very foundation you need to know is who you're calling, what they do, and why you're calling. Are you calling to make an appointment? You're not calling to land a sale. This is your first call. You're not calling to land a sale. You're calling to introduce yourself. You're calling to ask for a meeting. You're calling for, why are you calling? And then what value do you have to offer? Why should I listen to you? What references do you have? So I wrote about the foundation of that as the very basic foundations of making a sales call. So my question to you, Jana and Lisa, is what would you call the very, very foundational things that people need to do in marketing and in social media? Challenge.
Get the name right. Yeah. Basically, it all comes down to target audience. I mean, to me, you have to know whether you're selling or trying to sell somebody, get somebody to do marketing with, say, your magazine, your TV station, or with you. You have to know, you have to do your research and know what the needs are of that particular potential client or customer before you try to sell to them. And it's real basic. You need to understand their business and what they do. And, like you said, go into their background, but also just make sure they're a good fit. Because the biggest basic mistake that people make in trying to do that is trying to sell to the wrong customer. And a lot of that can be alleviated by doing basic research. So, but, it's amazing that people don't even, go through a website and find out if they're talking to a mailer. But that, I'm sure there's 1,000 of those examples that happen. And, that's awful. But, there's really basic research you can do too to find out if somebody is worth your time and you're worth theirs.
So know who your audience is and know what you're selling. Your first two.
And their product.
Mm-hmm. I mean, much along the same lines, know who you are. Yeah. And I think, when you're utilizing social media to aid sales, goals are very important. What is your goal of using your social media just to increase your brand recognition? So hopefully you shorten the sales cycle, or do you need to have a call to action on there? And those call to actions are very important, and they need to happen on social media, but I'd say not all the time, because it's still, you don't want to be too pushy, and you have to remember you're building a relationship. And I think that's what, with the sales, man, you've already thrown that relationship out the window if you hadn't done your research. Mm-hmm. So do your research, know who you are, know who your market is, and don't try to be all things to all people.
And, Sean, it's funny that you say, you would think hopefully the professionals know not to call and try to make a hard sale the very first time you talk to them, but there are people who do. And, I've seen it happen in other outlets, and it's like, oh my gosh, they may just do a quick something to get you off the phone, but that's not going to be a long-term relationship. I mean, you're not going to get it the next time. And I mean, it's like, come on, guys, really don't do the hard sell.
Okay. And this reminds me of, and I know, Sean, you and I know feel the same way about this. Jana, I'm not sure what your feelings are about this, but it reminds me of, as soon as I follow somebody on Twitter, and I don't know, but there's a reason I'm following them. They've written something I've liked or whatever. Right. And then I automatically get a direct message trying to sell me something, or click on their white paper link so they can gather my information. That to me is an instant turnoff. Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised at the people and the companies that still do that.
Me too.
And large, successful companies. Mm-hmm. And I had a conversation with one of the owners of said companies who still utilizes that. And you know, and much to his credit, it was after I kind of sent a direct message back to him. And this was somebody that on my personal account, we had been following each other for a while, but on my business account, I started following him, and that's when I got the weird direct message that I was like, really?
Well,
really?
Yeah. I mean, now I will.
So when I sent a direct message back to this person, kind of slamming them for doing this, I could tell he himself read it, and he sent me back a direct message, kind of agreeing with me, but you know, I had said there must be the numbers to support this, because I know you wouldn't be doing this if it didn't lead to some kind of closure for you. And lo and behold, there are. I mean, and you know, he has the data to support, although I think he realizes, you know, it does leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but they do have some success.
They got to back it up. But again,
wow, I hate it. I hate it.
Too.
Well, and you know, it's funny, it depends, because like I started following a few, you know, up and coming country music artists since I had, you know, was dealing with Mickey Etley, and I was trying to kind of gauge, and I would follow them, and they send me a message back saying, thanks for the follow, check out my, you know, new single or whatever. That's fine. That's great. Okay. But if it's the hard sell or direct message back of selling you something, you know, I don't know. I mean,
And they're all they're automated. And it's funny, the ones that are automated, and they think they're like, it's the way the code is written is to type in your first name or whatever. And so when they do my business, you know, and my first name is in my business bio, but it's so clear. They don't even read the little short Twitter bio. It's the automated thing that, you know, hello, LMCB. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, you just missed the mark there. But it's, you know, the guy that I was direct messaging back and forth, I mean, I was very impressed, though. I will say that he was reading, you know, I mean, he was definitely staying on top. And he was, you know, he was responding back personally. But you know, there's not a lot you can do to change my mind where those direct automated messages are concerned.
No, but I'm like, Lisa, I mean, we've talked about this, and you helped me with this, is putting people in categories. And also I keep a list of people who are following me that are potential clients that I might approach at some point, just depending, and you know, but I don't go, hey, you're following me on Twitter, you need any marketing help, you know, that kind of thing. It's like it's a, you know, in the back of your mind, a list of potential clients, but that, you know, quid pro quo thing is, you know, I mean, I just think that's bad taste.
Yeah, there's a, I guess they call it a standard now where, especially with the influx of digital marketing, digital selling, social selling, and technology, that you need to offer value 5 times before you ask for something back from someone. So
there you go.
Yeah, so you know, it's not. That's one of the reasons why that Twitter direct message rubs me so much, is that we've just begun a relationship. You know, you're not going to third base yet. People.
First date.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You started it and you lost it all at once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I agree. Yeah, they don't need to do that. But, you know, I think Twitter is great, especially if it's your business. Like you said, Lisa, you know, it's business Twitter. I get it. You know, people are potentially going to exchange services and whatnot and become clients, but it's a fine line, and you know, you got to cultivate it.
Well, and it's, you know, educate, entertain. As far as I'm concerned, that's across social media. If you're not educating me or you're not entertaining me,
then why?
then
you're really not offering anything of value.
Then you're promoting, and that's
because you know, like and like we say though, there are the sites that exist for, you don't want to ask somebody out on a date on LinkedIn. You don't want to ask somebody out on a date in any social media outlet per se.
That was part of my last talk about our blogs. That was part of my last.
That's
blog.
right. Yeah.
I did the
That happened to me,
what's hot and what's not. list like we all used to have in our high school yearbooks at the end of the year. So I did a what's hot and what's not for LinkedIn. And are you LinkedIn or you linked out? And just went through some quick. Yeah, no, nothing is Tinder except Tinder and a few other places. Right. But definitely not LinkedIn. And unfortunately, I've been hearing about more and more of that happening. And if LinkedIn doesn't get a grip, they're going to lose a lot of people. Yeah.
But, you know, on the flip side of that, you know, if you're going to talk to somebody about business or doing business together, LinkedIn is your site, you know, not Twitter per se. You know, Twitter's a great way to kind of have knowledge of who's out there and the companies that might know who you are, but LinkedIn is for business to business. So there you go.
Well, and I'll say on that, you know, on those notes, you have to, this goes back to a basic of social media. You need to know where your market's hanging out, but not only where your current market is hanging out, where your potential market is hanging out. And there's a lot of listening that goes on and a lot of watching new trends and new sites and everything. I mean, I spend a pretty good chunk of time staying on top of all that and, you know, keeping in mind clients and where they may need to invest some time to start growing a market if I think that's going to turn into something down the road. But then again, there's a whole lot out there you don't want to be spending time on. But you need to have some overlapping and not sink all your eggs in one social media platform. But you also don't need to post the same exact things across 3 different sites that you might be on. To me, that is so flat and so bland, and you're not giving me any reason to follow you on different sites. And ideally, that's what you want. You want people to be engaging with you and following you on as many sites as you can, because that helps turn them into brand advocates. They feel more included. They want to be part of who you are and what you stand for, and your brand reputation. So it's, you know, like your personality has many different layers. You need to show those layers across different sites of your social media accounts. And so, you know, it's me personally, what's on Facebook's different from what's on Instagram, is different from what's on Twitter. It's, you know, you might learn little pieces about me throughout the day from the different sites, but I hardly ever post it across different sites.
You know, it's funny you say that, Lisa, because even on my personal stuff, I do things differently on Facebook than I do on Twitter. I feel like there's 2 different audiences that are just embedded and you know, inherently. And, you know, and certainly in business situations that exists. So, I mean, I don't know. I agree. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about was talking to people who think we can handle our Facebook and Twitter in-house. You know, I've got another job, but it doesn't take much time. What are you going to say to that? Because I dealt with that this week too. You know. Well,
you know, what I say is generally what I have found with medium-sized businesses is to have a professional and to hire outside is much cheaper than paying an additional employee. When you look at all the benefits and the salary, that person in-house can usually be used more efficiently to handle other things that need to go on to work in the business and to keep that business functioning and why you're in business. You know, that's your passion. You hire your employees to do different things to keep your business flowing. Getting outside help to help with the social media and to work on the business while you're working in your business usually is much more effective and can free up the time of your internal employees.
Yeah, and it takes away from their main job while they're there, you know. And I think if they're going to, I guess the irony is if they're going to actually spend enough time on it that they need to spend, and they have another role, it's going to take away from that. And so it's just, you know, win-win to have somebody
and they're not the experts, and they have a learning curve. You know, one of the things like I tell our clients is the reason I'm sourcing the inside sales groups and I'm sourcing what compensation models and what compensation software to use is to flatten that learning curve. I'm absorbing the learning curve for you. Much of it I've already absorbed, and the things we have to do in the future, I'll absorb that too, so that you don't have to be the one to do that. You know, your employees are not social media experts, nor should they be. They're shipping experts, they're accounting experts, they're QuickBooks experts,
or
whatever.
medical, or
Yeah.
And that's, you know, let them do the thing. I mean, we always say that, and it's the same way with marketing and PR. You know, you do what you need to do to run your business, and we'll do what we need to do to get people to your business. But you know, they're two different things. So.
Right. That's, you know, I'm like, use me as a team member to work on your business. You know, you're in business because that's what you were passionate about, or it's what you know, it's what you're really good at. And that's the same reason I'm in social media, you know, and I know how to use it effectively for your business. But the intern that you hire over the summer, and I see this repeatedly too, and nothing against interns. I was an intern once.
Yeah, me too.
But businesses tend to get interns there over the summer, you know, their plan or strategy may be to have a giveaway each month over the summer. And that's and so that's what they do, or they overpost and they just do giveaways. Come September, that social media for that business is dead.
Yeah.
They have no voice, they have no ears. And, you know, if they have worked on a following or have people talking and then they're gone, dig the grave. I mean, it's just, you know, social media it's great, but it is done well. It's slow, it's ongoing, but you have to be there consistently.
Or don't be there.
It also takes time to learn. Like you were talking about audiences and channels, and you know, I'm going, well, Lisa, I do post the same things on different things, but not at the same time. But I do know I've learned over the past, you know, couple years that Twitter for me is fantastic to build my business acumen and my business connections, and to meet more people in the upper echelon of sales and selling, so that they bring me in on projects, or it's really elevated my status in the sales community. And I learn from them, but also they're potential strategic partners to work with too. I mean, I credit Twitter to how I, you know, got on Sales Chats, which is how I ended up with Women Sales Pros, and Women Sales Pros is how I got connected to Performative, and I launched my first course on Performative this week. So like that audience is there for me, is very much about learning, and then who retweets me, who retweets the information, not necessarily who I engage with on the front end, are potential customers.
Exactly.
LinkedIn for me, more sales reps and follow me on LinkedIn. That's where my sales rep and, you know, the sales channels and working with sales teams come from LinkedIn. So a lot of the stuff is the same information in different channels. I don't post the same thing across the board all the time. You change the wording and that kind of stuff. But also I have a huge ass library of stuff to post. But it's very different. It can be very nuanced, but then you have to work those channels, and to you know, once you see that, then you adjust your strategy. That takes time and effort.
Well, it does. And there is a difference in I repurpose all the time too, and there's definite value in repurposing that content and making it fit for those different channels.
Right. And like we say, depending on the audience, you know, speak to whatever audience you're on.
And what your strategy is with that audience. Once you figure out, you know, who that is that's following me, engaging with me, interacting, and what do I want to do with that audience and that social currency, that's a whole different strategy. And that, like, it's more than an intern to figure that out. That takes strategic vision. It really does. It takes strategic vision tied in with, you know, from the CEO level on down. You've got to have that vision, and then that's got to be a part of what you do with that information.
Well, and, you know, and that goes back to what we were talking about, your question earlier about the basics for sales and marketing. There's so much information that you can glean, just a little bit of research and using the social media channels. and finding out, who this person that you're going to be talking to, how long have they been with the company? What are their interests outside the company? That is all valuable information before you go to have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's all out there for the most part.
It is. And on LinkedIn and Twitter, they're, for the most part, public. It would take nothing to get on there and find out, in 15 minutes, enough information to make a phone call. But, we just hope they'll do that. So, but I agree. Oh,
Right.
Crazy.
So,
All right.
okay. Any more questions, comments?
No, not relevant to that. But Jana, I want you to come to. I want you to get involved with NAWBO. I want you.
I know.
Yes.
Lisa, I know, and I, I told them I have like a list of things after, graduation this next week of NAWBO on my list. It's up there. And I told Lisa, I said, I promise I'm going to get I've got the new office open. I've got my wonderful new employee hired. When my son gets graduated, then it's on the top of my list.
Good. Well, it's really
I'm excited.
We're really doing more to plug women in together, to do business with each other, to just provide more value and be, I don't play. Like if I'm going to do anything, I'm just all in. And so it's just been a good experience. Lisa was at the board development meeting, and I hope you got a good sense of where this is headed.
Well, and I'd say,
It's a great
since we kind of broadcast worldwide here, but NAWBO, the National Association of Women Business Owners, if you have a chapter in your community, by all means, get involved with that, because it's great networking. It's been wonderful for me as a business owner to shorten that learning curve and hopefully not make too many mistakes from the get-go that could put me behind. And it's a wonderful way to propel forward and shorten the learning curve, frankly, and just glean wonderful experiences and information and tips from business owners who have been there and in my shoes for years. They know how to guide people.
Well, and I love it because it's such a unique group of people. There are not a whole lot of women business owners. There are, but it's so great.
More and more,
but it's a group that it's very specific. It's not just, I'm in marketing, so I'm going to go to this marketing thing. We run our businesses, and it's so good, like you said, to learn about best practices and the networking and find out, who's 10 years old that can tell you stuff when you're a year or 2 years old. So I love that component.
And what's happened this past year too, which I'm so impressed of, and Diane Dixon is really one push this, but it's become a group that's an advocate pushing to make sure that contracts and government are aware of women business owners here that have the resources that can fill those private contracts and stuff. And so you have advocacy on the big level. You have advocacy on the national level. The NAWBO dues, what most people don't realize is that most of those go to advocating for women in business on the national level. And then you've got people advocating for women in businesses here. And then you've got, sister business owners advocating for your business to say, you know what, I know who you need. You need a Jana Herbison. You need a Lisa Busby. You need a Sean Sandy.
Yeah. That's such a win-win. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we'll get you there.
Jump in, girl.
We'll send an Uber over for some point and just kidnap her.
Hey, all right, free Uber. Okay, great. You just got me.
But and along that note, it kind of reminds me, we are headed into summer now, talking about the graduations and everything, and we're going to pause Blabbing Business for the summer. So I just want to get that out there if somebody's watching live or watching on replay. And we will be back after the summer months with Blabbing Business. And we'll also be, I'm really curious to know where Blab, the platform, is going to be at that time. So I'll kind of be watching it because there's a lot of changes going on. But so, I'll be hanging out and reporting on it. So anyway.
Reporting live.
I guess that's right. That's right. So to all of our Blabbing Business viewers, happy summer. And
great summer.
Thank you for the conversation, ladies. Jana, thank you.
I'll see y'all soon at NAWBO.
Yes. June 14th.
Absolutely.
June 14th.
Okay. Very good. I'm writing it down.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, y'all. Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Have a great day. See ya.
Bye.